Hello, this is Sally Taylor with the League of Women Voters of Portland, and you are watching the Video Voters Guide or listening to our podcast. We are here today to talk with candidates running in the May 19th, 2026 primary election. We are grateful for the support of the Carol and Velma Saline Foundation, the Weiss Foundation, the Sarah Freeman Foundation, members of the League of Women Voters of Portland, and our media partner, Metro East Community Media. With me is Judge Juliet Britton, running for Oregon Circuit Court, 4th Circuit, Position 2. Welcome, Judge Britton. If you would please tell us a little about yourself and why you are running for this office.
Well, I'm currently Beaverton Municipal Court's presiding judge, one of the busiest municipal courts in Oregon. I'm the only candidate running for this position who is currently a judge, and I have 25 years of legal experience. And for the last 8 years, I've been presiding judge. I've overseen criminal cases, including taking pleas, presiding over jury trials, and conducting successful settlement conferences. In addition to routine criminal case processing, I've been developing several judicial programs that aim to increase public safety and defendant recovery to address root cause issues of criminal behavior. And I did this after seeing the same defendants over and over in my court. These programs specifically are targeting defendants who have untreated mental illness or for those who suffer from untreated drug and alcohol addiction. I developed a behavioral health court, which is a diversion program that focuses on connecting participants with mental health treatment, as well as addressing basic needs such as housing. I created the first partnership in Oregon between a municipal court and county mental health, where we now have an embedded master's level clinician at the courthouse who work in real time with defendants to reduce barriers at accessing services that keep them safe and stable. I also preside over a drug treatment court, and through my hard work and diligence in implementing best practices, I improved our Be Sober drug treatment court, and as a result was recognized last year as a mentor court designated by the Treatment Court Institute. My program was one of 10 courts selected nationwide with this designation, and I train and consult with courts both in Oregon and across the United States who learn from our program on how to make our community safer and save lives from the dangers of addiction and untreated mental health. Prior to being a judge, I was the Oregon Psychiatric Security Review Board Executive Director. As a state agency director, judges and attorneys from Oregon consulted with me on serious felony cases where mental health was the driver of the criminal conduct. I gained substantial experience working in Multnomah County's mental health system, particularly leading partnerships that aim to improve services that defendants needed. I led countless trainings of judges, attorneys, and evaluators. I also have criminal litigation experience. I began my career as an Army JAG attorney, where I practiced as a prosecutor and defense attorney, and even served as a military magistrate as a neutral judge who makes decisions on search warrants and pretrial confinement. I have a strong leadership background, and one thing I've learned as a judge of 8 years is that being a good judge requires more than just good attorney skills. You need to be a leader in the courtroom, and I have those leadership skills to have an effective and efficient courtroom. I volunteer with my community in our American Legion post, as well as a not-for-profit Guardian Partners that trains new court-appointed guardians. I'm running because I want to bring all of this experience to the county that I've called home for the last 17 years. Particularly, I want to focus on those defendants with mental illness and addiction.
Thank you. You are listening to the Video Voters Guide interview and podcast of Judge Britton, who is running for Oregon Circuit Court, 4th Circuit, Position 2. Another question is, what, if any, criminal sentencing reforms would you support?
As the only candidate that's a judge, I'm faced with sentencing decisions on a daily basis. And the reality is that most of the cases are resolving with guilty pleas where there's a joint recommended sentence from both sides. My philosophy is to go along with that joint recommended sentence because we want to have predictability and integrity, so our attorneys, victims, and defendants know that when they walk into court, there's going to be consistency in the sentencing when they get me as a judge. When there's not a joint recommended sentence, for example, after a person has been found guilty at trial, first I'm going to look to see at Oregon law if there's any sentence requirements. For more serious crimes, there might be a very specific sentencing grid that we use. And over the last decade, most of the nation, including Oregon, has moved towards having sentencing guidelines, which really limits judges and how they can sentence on a particular crime. Our Measure 11 in Oregon was approved by voters and is an example of this. One would think as a judge, I wouldn't like this, that I would want full discretion in my sentencing, but I have found that guidelines create some consistency in how judges sentence similarly situated defendants. We don't want a system of inconsistent sentences depending on what judge is deciding the sentence. Guidelines also reduce the chances that a judge's bias is either positive or negative could overly influence their decision. So I would advocate for continued sentencing guidelines as long as there's regular review of those guidelines to ensure it's meeting its intended purpose. The second thing I'd say about sentencing is that no matter what type of sentence someone receives, whether it's jail, prison, or probation, our state needs to invest more in services that help the person reach their full potential. Because most crimes, at least for the lower level crimes, defendants are eventually going to serve their sentence and return to their community. If we help them develop pro-social skills or get the treatment they need while they're incarcerated or supervised on probation, it's going to increase the chances that they will not return to criminal behavior. So I believe rehabilitative services should be offered to defendants no matter what their sentence is. And I'm regularly evaluating whether programs are available and will include them in my own sentences.
Thank you, Judge Britton. This concludes our video voters guide and podcast interview of the League of Women Voters of Portland of Judge Juliet Britton, running for Oregon Circuit Court, 4th Circuit, Position 2. Election Day is Tuesday, May 19th. To find additional election resources, including online identifications of other candidates and ballot measures on which you may be able to vote, please visit the League of Women Voters of Portland's website, lwvpdx.org and vote411.org, and then exercise your right to vote. Ballots will be mailed out starting on April 30th. For your vote to be eligible to be counted, your ballot must be received by the Multnomah County Elections Division or in one of the designated ballot drop boxes in Multnomah County no later than 8 p.m. on Election Day. We strongly recommend that if you are depositing your ballot with the United States Postal Service, you do so no later than Tuesday, May 12th, 1 week before Election Day. Your voice and your vote matter. Thank you for your interest.